I got my ticket for the long way round. 2 bottles of whiskey all the way. I sure would like some sweet company. Even tomorrow, what do you say? When I'm gone. When I'm gone. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone. You're gonna miss me by my head. You're gonna miss me everywhere. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of TECSpertZ. My name is Nick Green, the News and Sports Director at WZMB.
I'm Garrett Skillman, the Sports Editor for the East Carolinian.
I'm Caleb Johnson, Sports Reporter for the East Carolinian.
And I'm Cannon Gates, the Station Manager for WZMB.
And we are back with yet again another episode where we're going to be recapping ECU football. And gentlemen, it was not exactly what we were hoping for against BYU on Saturday night. The Pirates lost 34-13 in the final score. Statistically, in the first 3 quarters, we kind of hung in there, and then, the fourth quarters, things got a little out of whack. But, first 3 quarters, we kind of hung in there, while the scoreboard didn't necessarily say it. We did hang in there statistically on all categories except turnovers. We'll talk about that in a minute, though. Gentlemen, what were your kind of original thoughts on this game so far?
Original thoughts heading in, or
Like your
general?
thoughts in general about what just happened?
I mean, it's just disappointing. We all went into this game with high hopes. Every Pirate fan did. We wanted to see a big win. Big team coming to Dowdy Finkland. That doesn't happen often. So the vibes were high. The flyover, all of that stuff was great. I mean, the fireworks, Pirate Walk, all of that stuff was awesome. It just sucks that we got beat by a better team. They had a better defense than us. They had a better coach than us, I would say, or at least in that game. And the turnovers killed us, the pick six right before halftime, that kind of turned the tide. And it's just disappointing. I thought it would be a closer game. I really hoped for a win, but obviously that didn't happen. And all we can do is pack it up and move on to next week.
It's tough. It really should have been probably a 6-6 game at halftime. It was a 13-3, I believe, at halftime. Tough one. Like Caleb said, the pick six. And then on that, I've read everywhere it shows an RPO. Honestly, in that situation, I don't even think it needs to be an RPO. Just be an automatic gift to the running back. There's no reason for Caden to be throwing that ball. Also, though, in that situation, he was throwing it to the field. He should have been throwing it to the short side of the field, the boundary of it. I believe those are the right terms. I could be wrong. Yeah, but I'm saying it should not have been. That was the further side of the field that he was throwing. So I don't know why we were throwing it over there in the first place. That's a play you run on the 30-yard line, not on the 3. So that's a tough pill to swallow there. Obviously, you go that from there you have to drop punt and all that stuff. So it's just a tough pill to swallow in that one. We got outcoached. That's really, I think, all there is to it. We just got outcoached. Bachmeier made some throws, but they weren't anything crazy. I think he just took what the defense gave him, and you'd see a tight end or receiver, whatever, 5 yards open. They have no one around them right in the middle of the field. It's like, how did they get there? That's just getting outcoached and everything, and good play calls, good scheming by BYU.
A lot of yak plays from them.
I think what's the most disappointing is you're trying to establish this football culture back in Greenville again, and you do all the flyovers, the fireworks, the walk, and then you go out and get destroyed by BYU. And this is such a game that I think everybody thought we could have won this game, or at least, been close. So that's the most disappointing part for me. I think if Kane Howes doesn't throw a pick six and also an interception in the red zone, I think we could have won this game. But yeah, outcoached, Caden, not a great game from him, and it's just so disappointing.
All right, gentlemen, it's time for my first rant of the year. It's the first time. It's the first time for my first rant of the year. And I'm piggybacking off of what you said a little bit here when you said we're trying to reestablish a football culture here in Greenville. We had Cannon, correct me if I'm wrong. Please pick up your mic again for a second.
Yes, sir. Yes.
How many recruits did we say we had?
300.
300 recruits at this game.
300?
That's what we read. We had that many recruits here for ECU BYU. Big game, obviously. I mean, BYU is now number 25 in the nation. Props to them. They 100% deserve that. I'm not discrediting BYU in the slightest when I say this. To the fans who left when the score was 13-3 at halftime, this goes out to you. What in the world are we doing with 300 recruits there? Because I know the people who left at halftime with scores 13-3 are the number one people who are complaining that this team sucks and we need to get better. How in the world are we going to get better when we can't establish a football culture here? How in the world are we going to get better? No recruit wants to see their fans give up on them when it's a 13-3 ball game. Now, when the score got a little bit further out of hand, okay, I understand. I'm not mad at you for leaving when it gets a little bit further out of hand. But 13-3 is anybody's ball game. There's no reason to leave at 13-3, especially if you want to establish a football culture here. There is no reason why that student section should have been empty at halftime, especially with what all we've done to get to that point right there. We had the fireworks. We had the flyover. We had 49,000 fans in that stadium. Props to BYU. Your fans traveled very well. I know we were talking about, me and Cannon, we talked on the phone the other night about it, actually, last night, excuse me, about it, that a lot of those BYU fans actually were here in North Carolina. But still, that being said, it doesn't matter. They absolutely filled up that section, and props to BYU for doing that. I mean, it added to the atmosphere, honestly. And I mean, it was incredible to be in that stadium and witness it. It was beautiful. I mean, us three were at the game together. We were talking before the game started, like, let's just take in this moment of how full this stadium is. But you're not going to be able to convince people with that. And to the fans who left at 13-3, that's shameful. That's absolutely shameful. You shouldn't leave at a 13-3 ball game, at anybody's ball game, when you are facing an opponent like that, a big-time opponent like that, because at that point the team might even give up on you too, and that was just disappointing for me. That being said, that was my first rant. Let's talk actually about the game now. That was just, piggybacking off of the quote you said about the culture here we're building here at ECU. I think the game itself, I agree with you. I think the 2 turnovers were the most costly things we could have done. The score should have been 6-6 at halftime. Instead, we're down 13-3. That being said, it's still anybody's ball game at halftime. 13-3 is easy. We came back from 24-7 at NC State. Now, BYU's a lot better team than NC State, and I will be the first one to tell you that.
Facts.
However, it's still, we have the home crowd behind us, supposedly. We should be able to build that momentum back, and we should be able to go down the field. 10 points is nothing in football. That's nothing. So that's where I get to. That's just kind of where I'm at with it. Now, granted, I will be the first one to tell you, BYU is the better football team on Saturday. I think even if you take away those 2 turnovers, I actually do think BYU still beats us because of just the incredible play calling by their head coaches. They were able to scheme open receivers all night long, and there was nothing we could do about it. That and losing Teagan Wilkin early in the game, that one hurt too. There's not much we can do after that. So I don't think we win the ball game after that, but I think it's a lot more respectable, and I think I think we're a very respected football program after that, and that would have built a football culture here. So I think this one is on the fans a little bit.
I think it's frustrating too, defensively, coming off of the week we had last week with that great pass rush, and then seeing what they put out on tape this week. It's just kind of disappointing. We were just kind of letting Bear Bachmeier just sit back there and do whatever he wants. And, one of the things we talked about that was important to win this game was keeping Caden standing up straight and making it uncomfortable for the quarterback, for the freshman quarterback on his first road game. And that just didn't happen. So it's just a distasteful loss, but we can hang our hats on the fact that we know they're a better team than us, and that we've got a whole year still left ahead of us, and we can still make our mark. We can still fight for an American championship, all of those good things.
I think the main thing you got to take away from it too is it's not a conference game, so even though we wanted to win, it's not going to matter as much in the long run. Because as Caleb mentioned, we still can go for American championship. We can still do all these things, and the American is getting a whole lot better, as you can tell. Tulane's looking good even after a pretty big loss to Ole Miss, so it's still Ole Miss, and then Memphis taking a win against Arkansas. This American Conference is shaping up to be a pretty dang good conference this year, so we really gonna have to put our foot forward, especially this week on a short week going up against Army, them coming to Dowdy-Ficklin and Greenville. We really got to show something this week and show that we have tenacity, the presence, the battle back, to have our chips on our shoulders, because we're coming from Greenville. We're coming from a school that people sometimes like to look down upon for some reason. These guys are going to have to play with chips on their shoulders the rest of the year, and going into this short week against Army. I mean, BYU is a tough one, but you just got to remember, it's not a conference game. In the long run, it doesn't matter.
I think we all can kind of agree the run game is just not there. I think that's a big part of why we lost.
I will
I'm
say
gonna
I
disagree
think
with that,
I think
actually.
the only reason why I disagree is because I feel like this week we didn't try it. Like,
Oh,
I-
that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like, we're still splitting between 3 running backs right now. I think Parker Jenkins actually had the most attempts. I think he had 9.
Which, respectfully to Parker Jenkins, I think that was kind of a stupid decision on the
Very
coaching
dumb.
staff. London Montgomery was having a phenomenal game, and I don't know why we were trying to force Parker Jenkins with London Montgomery. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm
Led their
going
team
off
in
memory.
rushing, but he did have a
Yeah.
long of 33, so that's
Yeah.
why that impacted that.
Yeah.
But him and Gunn both had 6. Jenkins had 9, and then Montgomery 43, Marlon Gunn with 35, and Jenkins with 24.
Yeah, so I mean,
And he had a long of 13. so-
I'm not mad at them feeding Jenkins because he's been the most consistent guy throughout the
He looked good
the
against
first
Coastal.
stretch.
I think you feed the hot hand with our
I
running
agree.
back room.
I
I
agree
think you
with
feed
you.
the hot hand.
But yeah, I don't think Jenkins should have got that many snaps though. He was averaging like 2.5 yards per carry or something. So I think that was kind of a big part of it. I think we need to establish who our RB1 is. But I mean, even though Caden had 2 interceptions, I'm still a big fan of him airing out and having high attempts, high usage. Going into next week, Army, we got destroyed by them last year.
To say
So-
the least.
They're not as good as
That was, they were a lot better team last
Yeah,
year.
last
They were
year it's
ranked.
not even.
They were
like, yeah.
ranked. But I think this could be a big bounce back win. They went to overtime last weekend, right?
Against North Texas.
So they
North
played.
Texas is scary, though.
Yeah.
That's another team I didn't mention about the American. North Texas
Yes.
is good.
They
Yeah.
put 52 on Washington State. Sorry.
Something like that.
And they played a lot of snaps. I was actually watching a press conference of Army's head coach. He said the biggest thing is just taking care of their bodies right now, and he was talking about how East Carolina has a good identity right now, which is debatable after BYU. But yeah, it's a big chance to bounce back win. Yeah, that's all I have for that.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about real fast is I'm going to agree and disagree with your point regarding the running backs because we did see decent production out of the running backs. We just didn't utilize them on Saturday.
That's kind of what
And I think that's a problem in and of itself. That being said, I know I gave criticism week 1 for not abandoning the run game early enough. I think we abandoned it way too soon this game because we actually saw that there was there, that it was there. We could have gotten something out of it, and we saw a few really big carries. Granted, those carries were to the outside, which we have said like the inside runs don't work, but the outside ones, there's stuff
Outside
there.
zone, come on.
We have said that, and so London Montgomery's big run was on the outside. I'm pretty sure it was a stretch. Could be wrong about that, but at the same time, it goes back to a point I made earlier in the year when I said we're not going to compete with the best teams out there if we do not have a complete offense where you can attack them at any point in the game. BYU came into this game knowing that we were going to air the football out. That we're basically a one-dimensional offense. They came into this game knowing that, and they attacked that very well. I have to give them. I mean, that's coaching. They did come off a week of rest. They had plenty of time to study the film on us. I mean, you got to give credit there. But at the same time, they came into it knowing exactly what to expect out of it, and they executed very well. They executed fantastically, and it's rough to see. I almost wish we would have gone away from it a little bit. Like I said, when you play a big time opponent like a ranked team like BYU, you need to show them things that they haven't seen on film before. Almost every single thing we've done, we've shown on film before. And that I think that's a little bit of what's frustrating and why I say we were outcoached a little bit on Saturday, because everything we did, we've showed it before. And we didn't try and shake that up a little. I'm not saying shake it up too much, because at the same time, stick to what you're good at. At the same time, there's no reason for Caden Hauser to throw the ball 44 times and have close to 300 yards passing again when the running backs, there was production there for the most part, and we didn't even really try it. Like, once it goes back to, you got to try and be a two-dimensional offense, try and beat them in every step of the game, and it's almost like we didn't even try that. It's a little frustrating. But, shout out Caden Hauser. The 2 picks, I will say, I was talking to Cannon on the phone about it last night. The first pick to Anthony Smith in the end zone, the ball was thrown to Anthony Smith. In the stadium, obviously, when you're in the stadium, you don't get to watch the full thing unfold. You have to go back and rewatch it to really kind of see what happened there. I'm actually not blaming Caden Hauser that much for that interception. I think it was a great play by the corner, and it was just it seemed like a miscommunication where Anthony Smith stood still in the zone, and Caden Hauser was expecting him to cut inside. And because Anthony Smith didn't move and Caden Hauser threw it inside, the ball was able to get picked off right there. Now, granted, I don't think that ball's going for a touchdown, no matter what. Even if Caden Hauser does move in, or Caden Hauser, excuse me. Even if Anthony Smith does cut inside for it, I don't think it's a touchdown. I think the corner still makes a play, but I don't think it's an interception. I think it's an incomplete pass right there. I think we're able to get 3 points on a field goal there. That being said,
That was still second down, too.
right, that was still second down. We can still run up a play on third down. Now, that being said, the muff punt that led to the pick six, you can't have that happen. That's a bad mistake right there. And then the pick six, I mean, it was an RPO. I don't know why we're throwing the ball in that situation. You'd like to see us get at least a few yards on the ground. The worst, I mean, right before that play happened, I said, you don't need a safety here. And then they threw a pick six. And, well, that's much worse than a safety. I mean, there comes a point where even then, you can handle giving up 2 versus giving up 6. So, like I said, there's just a lot to lose in that situation. And, I mean, we're playing the what-if game at this point. But there's a lot of disappointment, I feel. At the same time, there's a lot of respect to BYU and how they were able to play. I realize I've been yapping for a while, so I will pass it over now. But I've been yapping for a little bit. But, yeah, gentlemen, we talked a lot about BYU. Do we have any more thoughts about BYU before
I do not.
transfer?
Caleb, if needed, but I do not.
I just wanted to say that I agree with you. I think that we have offensively pigeonholed ourselves into a one-dimensional place, and they did what great teams do, and they took advantage of that. And that is completely on John David Baker. No one else can wear that blame. I think what you're saying with the pick six on the RPO play, I don't know if I would classify it as a miscommunication, but I think this goes back to
No, not on the pick six. On the interception before that was the miscommunication.
So I think that the interesting thing about that is that we've been talking for the last 2 weeks about Caden Hauser is going to pull that ball and throw it on the RPO every single time, and it bit him in the tail that time.
Yep. BYU was ready for it.
It's just they were just way more prepared than us, and I think you already said it. If we don't throw that pick six, it's a completely different ball game.
He did talk for a few, so I'm not surprised. Sorry,
but
I had to say that.
Why are we not just running the ball out and going to half there? There was like 50 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
That was
Just
also
take
a
it
big
at
difference in the
halftime.
game. BYU's running back is filthy. We went for over
over
100 yards.
Yeah,
and a touchdown.
14 for 1 over.
Oh.
And we just don't have that.
I actually was impressed with our run game performance in this game because we collectively rushed for, I think, 115 yards and a touchdown if you want to count the Hauser touchdown as rushing. But, I mean, if you have a lead RB1, you're looking for him to get between 25 and 35 carries a game and rush for over 100 yards and a touchdown. We did that collectively as a team. I'm not that disappointed at that. Yes, I agree. I would like to see us find a lead back, but also with the room, I don't think that we'll ever get away from. We'll probably get away from the 3-back rotation, but I think that it will be a solid 2-back rotation because London Montgomery is going to fit in that piece somewhere, and there has to be a bruiser back that's mixed in there for goal line and red zone situations, and that's a lot of the reason that we ended up kicking so many field goals and not finishing drives is because they made us so one-dimensional we could not run the ball in the red zone, and that is essential to winning football games, especially in college football. And we can move on.
You have anything to say, Gary?
No, I'm good.
All right, so obviously we're coming off this loss to BYU, and we got to quickly turn it back around. Thursday Night Football hosted here at Dowdy-Finkland Stadium again. Coming off the shore, we got the Service Academy. We will see the triple option again. It's something ECU historically has struggled with. And if I remember correctly, we have not beaten a Service Academy team at home since 2005. So
Good Lord. Wow.
these are teams that we are not we struggle with, especially here at home. Gentlemen, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little terrified of this game to say the least, but I'm gonna let you guys do the talking first because I've talked for a while. Gentlemen, what do we have to do to be successful and get a win against Army?
Well, I will say this. There is no Bryson Daly on the field.
True.
There's no Bryson Daly on the field. I think that's where you got to see that, and you're not as scared. Obviously, triple option, but is the now starting quarterback for Army, Dwayne Coleman, he's fine. I'd say this Daly threw the ball a lot better than he does. Coleman is. You look at the stats. They played some good teams. I mean, they lost to Tarleton State. They've been a weird team so far this year. They lost to Tarleton State. They beat Kansas State, who Kansas State I think is just not good this year. But I think it's a lot of coaching for them, but that doesn't matter. And then losing North Texas in OT, as Caleb mentioned earlier. He's not a passer, and that definitely helps a little bit. And I think the good thing is a triple option. You got to be ready. All these guys on our team love to hit. Even the corners on the outside, they will come down the field. Jonathan Jean is a big bruiser, even at DB. He's a guy who I expect to see maybe the slot outside. He'll come in, hit a couple tackles for loss on Saturday. And obviously you got Wilkin Riddle. I hope Wilk's all right. He'll be able to play on Thursday. And I know it's a short week coming on an injury like that's going to be tough, but I think you'll definitely see him. I would assume. I haven't heard anything different. But, I mean, Jamari Riddle, expect to see him make a few big plays. But, yeah, the triple option, I mean, I'm obviously scared for it. Nick said 0-5 since we beat a Service Academy team at home. But I think this Thursday's just different. I really do. I think these guys, as I mentioned earlier, the chip on the shoulder, I think these guys are going to come ready to play, bounce back. Obviously, Army's a tough team, but they're not a 2024 Army team. They're a 2025 Army team, and there's a lot of differences for that.
Yeah, I think you said it great. I mean, we're really going to see what this East Carolina football team is made of this week. We're going to find out if we got some dogs, which I think we do. I think we saw the dogs come out against State. Granted, we didn't get the win, but then we go on a 2-game win streak, beat the crap out of Campbell, beat the crap out of Coastal, riding high into BYU, kind of down now. You got to see if we can get back up on that horse. Man, it sucks because we do historically struggle against the triple option. But I think this defense is the most prepared defense that we've probably had against the triple option. Like Cannon said, these guys are coming downhill to hit hard. We're going to load the box, so it's going to be interesting. And, yeah, it's not the same Army team from last year. And we're at home this time. We gotta make something happen here. Big game. It feels like a trap game. And then we got Tulane next week. These 3 games I said coming in, I'm going to keep saying it because I've been repeating it, but these 3 games are the biggest stretch of our season, and we got to make it happen right now.
I'm expecting nothing less than a win, or else I'll be pretty pissed, to be honest. Just because I had such high hopes for this team to start the season, and even though we did lose to BYU, NC State, those 2 games were like kind of the games where we kind of expected we could lose, or in terms of the whole season. And Army, we have fresher legs. They got to travel here. They played a lot of snaps on Saturday. It's not the Army of the past. They're 1-2 on the season. Lost to Tarleton State, pretty bad loss. And I just think we really need to bounce back with this win, and I think we will.
Yeah, this one, I don't know how to read this one, to be completely honest with you guys. Army's a very weird team this year. They beat Kansas State, but yeah.
I think it's a fraud, as I mentioned earlier.
Fair.
I don't think Kansas State's even that good.
But they lost to Tarleton State, and it's really just an interesting – I really don't know what to think about Army, to be honest with you.
They need this win more than we do.
Now, I will agree with that.
0-2 in the conference.
I will agree with that. They definitely need this
1-3
team.
on the year.
They definitely need this one more than we do. However, you don't want to start off conference play 0-1 and then have to go play Tulane on the road. That's a tough one, and I think that's where I'm not. Obviously, it's way too early to say this is not a must-win game by any means necessary. However, you almost you need to win this game. Like I say, it's not must-win because the season's not over if you don't lose. If you don't
True.
win this game. That's the only reason why.
I'd say there's a couple more. There's a couple more bigger games on the schedule, and that's why I say this is a must-win game.
Fair.
Because you got Tulane, and Memphis looks even better than I thought they were going to look.
For sure.
So that's why I do think this is a must-win game.
And
also, you want to start 1-0 in conference.
Oh,
that's why.
100%. And I completely agree with you. I just think that I say the only reason why I say it's not must-win is just because of the fact that you can overcome this. It would take a lot to do it, but you can do it. And like I said, this is just tough. Historically, we are horrible against the triple option. I hope this team is different than years past. I thought the Coastal game was a trap game. This one looks like a trap game too. I really hope ECU comes to play on Thursday. Night game at Daddy Ficklin Stadium. There's nothing better than Thursday night football at Daddy Ficklin Stadium. There's nothing. I love it to death. I think this
Prime time.
Prime time will be the only Thursday night game. Should have Sports Center on campus. It'll be a fun time here in Greenville, North Carolina. That being said, I'll go ahead and get a start with our score predictions. I think this will be a lower scoring game. I don't think this will be a offensively high scoring. If it is, I think we'll be the ones putting the points on the board, not them. I think if we get into a shootout, I like our odds a lot. That being said, I think I'm going to say, I'll say 24-17. Give me the Pirates.
We'll go 2013 Pirates.
I'm going to go 31-23 Pirates. I don't think it matters. I feel like BYU, you score 13. State, you score 17. You play some two crappy teams in Campbell and Coastal, and you put up a lot of points. And I think you put Army right in the middle of those 5 teams. And I think 31's a good balance for everything we've done so far. It's also in Dowdy-Ficklin. And, as I was mentioning, Coastal, even though it was 38 and Army's 31, we had a bad first half of offense against Coastal. So I feel like 31-23 is what I'm going with. I also will say this, another reason why I think this is a big game is because this American Conference, as I was mentioning earlier, I just want to go a little bit more in depth with it, is shaping up to be a really good conference this year.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if Memphis keeps going what they're doing, and we somehow, we win these games, and maybe we drop the one to Memphis, but we win every other game we have this year, that probably puts us in the American Championship.
Probably.
Obviously,
Has to.
and I would think so with South Florida, Memphis. Tulane probably makes in there.
Well, no, we would have the head-to-head over Tulane.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying mixed into the top part
yeah.
of the conference. And if we, maybe we drop one to Memphis, they go undefeated, we make it into the championship. If you beat Memphis in that, obviously I would assume we are the team. It's gets 12 seed in the college football playoff, and Memphis is even getting talked about as an at-large bid. I feel like if they go undefeated for the whole year and then lose the championship game. So that's why I think this is a must-win game for another reason. But yeah, 31-23. Jeff Monken's a good coach, so I really hope Blake Harrell doesn't get out-coached in this game.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be good 31-23 Pirates.
24-35 Pirates. And fans better not leave at halftime.
Good point, Gary. Yes.
Retweet. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching this week's episode of TECSpertZ. We'll be back next week to recap what just happened against Army and to go ahead and preview Tulane, which will be on the road. That'll be a fun one to review. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back again next week. Until next time, go Pirates.